Want to find the number one reason why your child may have plateaued or seen little to no progress so far in PT and OT and is getting further behind in their motor milestones? Are they struggling to sit up, crawl, or walk despite months of traditional therapy? Do they seem to fatigue easily, slouch constantly, and avoid physical activities altogether? If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many parents are left frustrated and confused when their child's gross motor delays continue to be a challenge, even after countless therapy sessions and home exercises. But what if we told you that the root cause of your child's challenges might be something that's often overlooked by traditional pediatric therapies? The real root cause of gross motor delays in kids goes way beyond low tone and weak core, and we'll break down exactly what that is in this video. This video is for parents of children with gross motor delays who have tried traditional therapies but haven't seen lasting results and are seeking answers as to why their child has plateaued or become stuck with their progress and want to learn more how to get back on track. In this video, we'll dive into the crucial role of the brainstem and neurospinal system in gross motor development and how something called subluxation and sympathetic dominance can be the root cause of gross motor challenges, low tone, a weak core, and so much more. Let's talk about our buddy Mr. Joseph, a 12-year-old boy who came to his local PX doc's office seeking help with his daily challenges associated with autism, ataxia, and chronic constipation. But what caught the attention of the doctors immediately were his significant gross motor delays and struggles. Joseph's mom shared that he would always find a way to slouch no matter what they did. And she was right. Joseph struggled to sit up straight, stand tall, and move around without exhaustion. His body was simultaneously wound up and worn out, leading him to seek additional movement stimulation through constant stimming and other behaviors. As a result, they had stopped all PT and OT and pretty much given up that his gross motor function and posture would ever get back to normal. But within the very first week of getting neurologically focused care, Joseph's gross motor function and endurance absolutely took off like a rocket, and he was literally asking to go to the gym and work out, hit the treadmill, and go to the park to play. This is why gross motor skills are so important. It's not just some aesthetic or postural thing. It's about opening that window to being that kid who's excited about life again, who is able to function at their highest potential. Gross motor skills involve movements that require the entire body and are essential for daily activities and overall development. They involve primarily the large muscle groups like the arms, legs, and core, but way too often a foundational and important set of nerves and muscles are left off that list when it comes to gross motor skills and development, those of the neck and neurospinal system. The order of development starts with head and neck control for latching, nursing, and so forth. And then it goes next to the trunk or thoracics with tummy time and learning to roll over. From there, the child learns to activate and use their core in order to sit up. Then they learn to army crawl and regular crawl. Crawling is essential for brain development, which we'll discuss next. And finally, they learn to furniture cruise and then walk. That's what normal looks like. So what causes a child to deviate from that? We're now going to talk about what subluxation and sympathetic dominance is and how it causes increased tone and tension, first in the brainstem, neck, and neurospinal system. The nervous system, specifically our neurospinal system, plays a crucial role in gross motor function and is easily the most overlooked aspect of this important conversation. The very first thing to develop in utero is the brainstem and spinal cord, because from the first moments of life, the brain and central or autonomic nervous system will control every single movement of muscle, heart beating, lung breathing, food digestion, and so forth. Therefore, if we try to get the root cause of any neuromuscular or gross motor problem, we can't focus solely on the muscles. We've got to address the neuro part first and foremost. And that is where PT and OT can fall short because they can't quite access and improve the central nervous system function quite like chiropractic can. Once subluxation and sympathetic dominance or increased tone set up shop in the neck and neurospinal system, it influences the development that comes after. And this most commonly is caused by things like breech positioning or birth interventions like forceps, vacuum, induction, or C-section, stress in those early stages of life. And when stuck, that hyper or high tone will stay stuck in those regions until adjusted and cleared out of the way. This means the original real root cause of low tone or a weak core is actually tension and subluxation in the neck and neurospinal system, which we can find on our examination, analysis, and EMG scans we run in the office. I want to show you what one of those scans looks like. This is a neuromuscular scan. This is a SEMG, a somatic electromyography scan. That's the fancy term. It's essentially saying, what is the brain communicating to the rest of the body in terms of how is it using energy with the muscle system? How much energy is it sending to certain muscles? And when we look at what the normal or normative view is, this right here would be considered normal. So looking at this top right graph, what we want to see is little white bars at the top, meaning less energy up top, less energy in that brainstem region, less energy up top, and then more energy in the core. It's almost this pear-shaped pattern. So for this patient specifically, this graph, this top left one, is where their energy was being distributed. And what we can see is a number of things here. One is how much extra tone and tension is held throughout the cervical regions. Whenever we see color, whenever we see green, blue, or red bars, this is showing us increased amounts of tone or tension or energy sent to those muscle system here. The other thing to consider is when we look at it from the standpoint of low tone, where in the nervous system is there less tone and tension? And what we see is showing up is in this TL junction, in this important area that holds a lot of stress when you're standing upright against gravity, when you're going through a growth spurt. This area tends to hold more stress, and when this area gets fatigued, we're seeing the results of that. The compensation of the body being in a stuck state, there's exhaustion that sets up, and there's also an increased sustained tone happening throughout the system. The normal is this, and what we're seeing is the exact opposite. We're seeing less tone and tension, less stability held within the core when that's what we want to see, and we're seeing more tone and tension happening up top. So a couple things to note here as well. When we look at this from a view of symmetry, when we look at this from the view of how much tone and tension is on one side of the body versus the other, what we want to see is balance. We want to see that the body is balanced. It's not holding asymmetrical tension and tone throughout the system, causing this torquing, causing this increased stress on the nervous system. When we look at it from a symmetry standpoint, so that's this bottom left view right here. It shows us how much tone and tension is held on one side versus the other. And what we're seeing right here specifically for this case is a counter-torquing pattern. And this is connected to things like the birth trauma, colic, ear infections. This extra tone and tension in this torsional pattern will create a lot of extra stress, will influence the drainage system, will influence the child's ability to calm and relax through what's called the vagus nerve that comes out of this important area. It's going to influence the function of the brainstem and how it controls heart rate, how it controls the breathing function, how it controls a child's sleep. When we see more stress happening here, it tends to correlate with that. Third thing I want to focus on is all three of these together can be summarized in this view right here. And if you're a numbers guy or girl or person, this is the scan view for you. What we see here is a total energy score, how much energy is on the system. There's an increased amount of energy, but more specifically, how is that energy distributed? How is it organized? And what we're seeing through what's called the pattern score. So this pattern score is a reflection of how closely does this person's energy pattern or energy distribution, how closely does it match the normal? So this normal is this little white line down here on this pattern summary view. Their energy distribution is this black line that's showing up here. We want to see those overlap, but when they don't overlap, that's when it will affect the pattern score. So how closely does it overlap? We're seeing it at a 52%. And the reason this is important is because it's showing the how coordinated or how efficient is the body with using its energy distribution. And if you like looking at symmetry from a number standpoint, this little box right here is showing just that on this bottom right portion. Right. Here we go. Right here. Symmetry. What we want to see these numbers, pattern, symmetry, we want to see them at, as high as possible. But if we can get above a 75%, if we can get above an 85%, that's showing us that body is more efficient with how it's distributing its energy. So for this patient, there would be almost a twofold approach of first, we've got to unlock the system. We've got to get this energy off that's locking down the brainstem, that's locking down the vagus nerve, but then sustain the body's ability to be in a calm and relaxed state so that we can start waking up what's going on in the core. We've got to get to the root cause first to figure out and work through and let the body take over and wake up the system again so that they get back on track with their motor milestones. So if your child has been struggling with gross motor delays and you feel like you've tried everything without lasting results, it's time to take a deeper look and find out if subluxation, excessive sympathetic tone, and things like the lasting effects of birth trauma could still be at play. To find out how your child's gross motor function is doing down to the very core, visit the link in our bio or call our office to learn more about the neurological insight scans and especially the EMG that we showed right here in this video. Once we have those scans, we can then create a truly customized and fully tailored adjusting care plan made just for your child. And finally get them past that plateau or stuck point and back on track with their gross motor development. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching and have an absolutely blessed and wonderful day.